I am 24 years old today. The clock has struck midnight. I'm here lying in a hospital bed, awake with my hand on my chest, counting heartbeats, wondering how something so strong can feel this fragile. Every morning, I wake up grateful to be still here, and terrified that it might not last. I'm alive, but every breath feels borrowed, because I have spent my life hearing that people like me do not live this long, that this age is where the story ends. So I wait, waiting to see if the myth finally comes true, or if I become proof that it was never true. I have lived with pain. I have lived with fear. I have lived with love so fierce it refused to let me go. There is a storm inside my bones, but there is also a survivor. My name is Juanita, and as long as I am breathing, this story is not finished. Before pain learned my name, before hospitals memorized my face, before fear, my mother says I cried the moment I entered the world, loud and strong, like I was demanding to stay. My father says he looked at me and felt something sacred, something he promised to protect with his life. None of us knew then that protection would sometimes mean sitting helplessly beside a hospital bed, praying instead of fighting. I was a happy child. I laughed easily. I ran endlessly. I believed my body would always obey me. I danced without thinking about tomorrow. I slept without fear of waking up in pain. My childhood was bright. I mean, very bright. I was the loudest among the children when it came to playing, not because I wanted attention, but because joy lived loudly inside me. I laughed without holding back. I ran without measuring my strength. I would play until my knees were dusty and my throat was dry from shouting names, rules, and made-up songs. I loved Kalongo. I loved singing games. I loved Brekicho, and many other games related to a child. I was always the one leading the others, the one inventing new rules, the one refusing to stop even when everyone else was tired. Juanita, slow down, they would say, but I didn't know how. My body felt limitless then. It obeyed me without question, and I trusted it completely. I believed it would always carry me whenever my laughter wanted to go. I remember the sound of my own voice, echoing across playgrounds. I mean across the entire village. I had a nickname, Lelo, meaning the loud one. When evening came and mothers called us home, I was always the last to leave, dragging my feet, begging for just 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes of running, 5 more minutes of being free. Those days felt distant now, like memories borrowed from another life. The day I went to school for the first time felt like a celebration. I remember waking up earlier than usual, excited in a way that made it impossible to sleep again. My uniform was laid out neatly, still stiff and new, smelling like fresh fabric and promise. I kept touching it, afraid it might disappear if I looked away for too long. My parents were smiling that morning, not the tired smiles I would later learn to recognize, but proud ones, the kind that says, "Our child is growing." They dressed me carefully, adjusting my collar, brushing my hair again and again, even when it was already perfect. When we left the house, I was not alone. Both my parents walked beside me, one holding my hand and the other carrying my bag like it was something precious. Along the way, we met other parents, other children, each of us stepping into something new together. Laughter filled the path, excitement in the air. At the school gate, it felt like the whole world had gathered. Parents stood proudly, cameras ready, voices loud with encouragement. Children clung to hands, some crying, some laughing, all unsure of what waited inside those classrooms. I was not scared. I was curious. I wanted to go in. I wanted to belong there. My parents knelt in front of me. They reminded me to listen, to be kind, to do my best. My mother hugged me longer than necessary. My father smiled, but his eyes stayed on me even after I turned away. I didn't know it then, but that look would follow me into many school gates, many hospital corridors, many uncertain moments. When I walked into class, my heart was full. I sat at my desk feeling important, grown, ready. I believed school would be a place where dreams started, a place where nothing bad could reach me. I didn't know yet that my body would sometimes pull me away from that happiness, that school would later become a place of interruptions, absence and catching up. All I knew that day was joy. Joy at being a student. Joy at being carried by my parents' love. Joy at believing my life would follow a simple straight path. That first day of school, I was just a child with a backpack bigger than her body and a future that felt wide open. Then, I started noticing the signs quietly. So quiet that I almost convinced myself they were not real. It began with tiredness, deep, unreasonable tiredness. Not the kind that comes from playing too much or staying up late, but the kind that settled into my body even after rest. I would wake up already exhausted, my limbs heavy, my energy gone before the day even started. I told myself I was just tired. School was new, life was busy, children get tired. For a while, life continued almost normally. I kept going to school. I kept playing while I had time. I kept telling myself the pain was nothing serious. I learned how to live around it, how to push through tiredness, how to smile through discomfort, how to pretend I was just like everyone else. I believed ignoring it was the same as overcoming it, until one day my body refused to be ignored. It happened at school. I was seated at my desk listening to the teacher, my books open in front of me. It was an ordinary day, nothing special, nothing different. Then without a warning, a wave of pain moved through me. Not slowly, not gently. It was sudden and deep, like something inside my bones had snapped awake. At first, I shifted in my seat, hoping it would pass. I told myself to breathe. I pressed my legs together, then stretched them, then pulled them close. The pain did not leave. It grew heavier, sharper, louder. My hands began to tremble. My chest felt tight. I tried to focus on the lesson, but the words faded into noise. All I could feel was pain burning, crushing, overwhelming. It felt like my body was turning against me, like something inside me was screaming. I raised my hand, but my voice didn't come out right. "I don't feel well," I whispered. The journey to the hospital felt endless. Every movement hurt. Every bump on the road sent pain through my body. I clenched my teeth, gripping the seat, trying not to scream. My mother kept asking me to hold on. My father kept telling me we were almost there. I had never felt pain like that before. At the hospital, everything moved quickly. Nurses rushed me in. Doctors asked questions I could not answer. My parents spoke for me while I lay there, small and shaking, afraid in a way I'd never been before. Needles, tests, fluids, voices above me, around me, talking about me like I was not there. That night was my first real hospital night. The pain did not leave immediately. It lingered, stubborn and cruel. I lay awake under thin sheets, staring at the ceiling, listening to machines hum, wondering why my body hated me so much. That was the night fear truly entered my life. The diagnosis came after tests, after long waits, after quiet conversations between doctors and my parents. I remember the doctor sitting down. I remember the room feeling smaller. I remember my parents holding each other's hands. "Sickle cell disease," the doctor said. The words felt heavy, final, and familiar. The doctor explained what it meant, how my blood worked differently, how pain crisis would happen, how my life will need careful management. I watched my parents' faces change as understanding settled in. I watched their hope bend but not break. I didn't fully understand the disease that day, but I understood this: my life will never be normal again. That hospital visit was not just my first admission. It was the beginning of a new life. A life measured in pain episodes, hospital visits and careful planning. A life where my body could no longer be trusted to behave. The first night after I came home from the hospital was quiet in a way I will never forget. I remember walking through our front door, tired and trembling, holding my mother's hand. The air smelled of home, cooked food, old wound and safety, but it didn't feel safe. My body still throbbed with pain, my arms and legs heavy, my chest tight, thick. My body still throbbed with pain, my arms and legs heavy, my chest tight. My parents tried to act normal. My mother smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. My father asked if I wanted water, if I was comfortable, if I needed anything. Every question, every careful gesture was soaked in fear. As soon as I went to my room, they left me for a moment. I thought I was alone, but I could hear them. Quietly behind closed door, my father's voice trembled. "We can't lose her. Not like this." My mother sobbed softly, her cries into her hands. I can't even imagine it," she whispered. I sat on my bed, listening to their grief in the dark, feeling it ripple through the walls, through the floor, through my own chest. I wanted to comfort them. I wanted to comfort them. I wanted to tell them it will be okay, but how could I when I didn't know if it would be? That night, for the first time, I understood what my parents had been protecting me from. Not just pain, not just illness, but the truth of fear that lives quietly in hearts that love too much. I lay awake, listening to their whispered prayers, realizing that love could be both beautiful and terrifying. The days that followed were strange. My body, once so eager to run and play, refused to cooperate. Pain would strike without warning. Fatigue wrapped me in blankets like chains. The world outside my bedroom, school, friends, playgrounds, seemed distant, almost unreachable. I missed school for the first time. And it was not just the absence, it was the fear of returning, the fear that my classmates will not understand, the fear that every new day might bring another hospital visit. Teachers called my parents. Some were kind, understanding, patient. Others questioned why I was not attending school regularly, why I fell behind, why I could not keep up. I learned quickly that sickle cell was invisible, yet it left its mark everywhere. I missed birthdays, sport days, class projects. I tried to push through, tried to return, tried to catch up, but my body reminded me every time that I was not the same child who ran freely across playgrounds. I was growing up in a different rhythm, a rhythm measured in hospital visits, medication schedules, and quiet moments of pain. As the days turned into weeks, I realized this was not just an interruption. This was my new normal. Missing school was not just about lessons I could not learn. It was about a world that began to look different. A world that whispered about me in ways I could not ignore. Some classmates were curious at first. They asked questions. I disappeared. But curiosity can quickly turn into distance. When I returned after an absence, I noticed it. Fewer smiles, fewer invitations to play, fewer people reaching out. They didn't know what to say to the girl who was always sick. Outside my home, mates waited. People talked quietly at first, then more openly. They said children with sickle cell don't grow up. They said the disease was a curse, a punishment, a sign of something wrong in the family. Some whispered that touching me, sharing a meal with me, even playing with me might be dangerous. I could hear it in their voices. I could see it in their eyes, and slowly it started to feel real. I became aware of being different. Even teachers sometimes treated me differently. They were kinder in tone, slower in their explanations, hesitant to call me. Their intentions were good, but it reminded me every day I didn't belong in the same rhythm as everyone else. My body, my illness, my reality set me apart. At home, my parents shielded me as best as they could, but the walls could not keep out the world's whispers. And I began to fear what I had never feared before, the judgment of others, the pity in their eyes, the way society measures a life by what it can do, not by the heart that endures. I felt isolation. Even in a room full of children, I could feel the distance growing. I wanted to play, to laugh, to belong, but sometimes I simply could not. My body refused and the world reminded me of it. And yet, I had to keep going. I had to learn how to live with absence, how to study at home, how to explain myself to strangers, how to manage the silent judgment. My life became a balancing act between pain and play, between home and school, between love and fear. The whispers never stopped. Some said I will not survive to see certain birthdays. Some said I will never run again. Some said life would always be measured in limitations. And somewhere deep inside, I wondered if they were right. After my diagnosis, life never returned to normal. Each day became a careful negotiation with my own body, a constant check of how I felt, how my limbs moved, whether the fatigue would strike before I could finish a task. I learned to wake up slowly, listening to my heartbeat, stretching cautiously, measuring every step. Simple things like walking to school or helping around the house required planning. I carried a small bag of medicines, my parents' instructions tucked in my pocket like a map for survival. Hospital visits became routine, not the kind of routine that feels ordinary, but a rhythm of pain, waiting rooms, injections, IVs, and tests. Every trip reminded me that my body could betray me at any moment, and the bills, they piled up quietly. My parents worked tirelessly to cover costs, sacrificing dreams, comfort, and sleep. I saw it in their eyes, in the lines of worry that deepened as I grew older. They never said it aloud, but I felt the weight of it every day. School became a landscape of interrupted dreams. I missed classes, assignments, exams, and projects. Every return required catching up. Every absence reminded me I could never live a life like my peers. Friends drifted. Some remained steady and understanding. Others slowly faded, unable to cope with a friend who was not always there. I learned early that relationships can weaken under the pressure of chronic illness. Even teachers, though kind, could not erase the reality. My education was no longer a smooth path. I fell behind in lessons, struggled to focus when pain crept in, and had to relearn concepts I had missed. I learned to study between pain episodes, to memorize notes at home, to pretend my body could keep pace with my mind. The pain was unpredictable. Some days it was a dull ache, like a warning. Other days it struck suddenly, forcing me into hospital beds, into tears, into long nights where I whispered prayers into the dark. I cried quietly so my parents would not worry too much. I prayed harder so they could rest easier. I learned to be strong because they were stronger still. My parents' love became a shield, a lifeline, a source of quiet courage. They held me through nights of fever, whispered words of hope when I could barely breathe, and stayed by my side when the world outside was harsh and judgmental. As I grew older, I became acutely aware of the myths surrounding my illness, the whispers of people who said I will not live past 24, the assumptions that my life would always be limited. Society measured me not by my dreams but by my disease. I felt fear creeping in alongside hope. Each birthday became a victory, each school day a challenge, each pain episode a reminder that survival was never guaranteed. And yet through it all, I learned resilience. I learned how to advocate for myself, how to manage my health, how to persevere academically, how to love deeply and gratefully. I learned that living with sickle cell was not just about enduring pain. It was about finding strength in vulnerability, courage in fear, and joy in moments that were still mine. I'm 24, but the fear still lives with me. It whispers in quiet moments, reminding me of all the days I was told I will not survive, all the nights I spent in pain, all the myths that tried to define my life. But I'm enlightened now. I know that fear does not have the final say. I know that my body may be fragile, but my spirit is not. I know that pain and struggle do not erase the beauty of living. I have learned to honor my journey, to cherish the love that surrounds me, to embrace the resilience that has carried me this far, and to celebrate each breath as a victory. I am more than a diagnosis. I am more than the myths. I am more than the storm inside my bones. I am your Anita, and my story is mine to live every single day.